is Devin, your health coach, back to help you along your journey to optimal wellness. So, today I'm going to be sharing the 5 steps to getting into your eating zone. So, when you get in the zone, the eating zone, you are more likely to really taste and enjoy your food as well as eat as much as you need versus overeating. So, that is why I'm sharing this today for those of you who are struggling a little bit with emotional eating, binge eating, overeating. To primary habit change to make around emotional eating, overeating, binge eating is becoming more mindful. That's one of the core things, becoming more mindful and more intentional with our meals. So just to recap, the HALT method stands for H, hungry. Asking yourself, am I truly hungry, and on what scale am I hungry? If it's a 7, 8, eat. If it's a 1, then move on to the next step of this method that I'm going to share right now. And then if it's a 10, you probably waited too long to eat. So have you ever been there? Okay, so A is assess your emotion. Are you feeling an emotion that you are trying to suppress with food? And then the L is love substitute. So if the answer to A was yes, then move on to L, love substitute. So then you can ask yourself, are you replacing a need for love from yourself, actually giving yourself some love and attention, or connecting with others by using food as a poor substitute? So why are you using food in this scenario, and what could you be doing differently? Could you be doing something for yourself? Could you be reaching out and getting that human connection that you are possibly looking for through trying to, bury those emotions in Oreos or chips or whatever your flavor is? And then the T in HALT is to check in with your body. Like, are you thirsty or are you tired? And do you simply need water? Because a lot of times we mistake hunger for water. That craving is sometimes just for water. We're dehydrated. Or do you need to respect your need to rest? So that's the HALT method. So today I'm going to be sharing the 5 steps to getting into the eating zone. And when you get into the zone, like I said earlier, you are more likely to really taste and enjoy your food as well as eat as much as you need versus overeating. Because no one ever said, I don't like to eat. No one ever said, I don't like food, no matter what size you are. We all want to eat. We all love to eat. We all enjoy food. And there's no reason why we can't do that. You can enjoy food. No one said that eating healthy, eating clean, eating real food had to be boring, had to suck, had to be unenjoyable. If you feel that way, you're not doing something right, and so let's talk about it. So the first step is to say to yourself, I choose to use my eating zone. So we're talking about getting in the zone, but the first step is to choose and use that eating zone. And that eating zone in this particular step, I mean, where are you going to eat? So we don't want to be eating at the couch all the time or in front of the TV all the time. When we're at home or when we're at work, we don't want to be eating at our desk, or when we're at home working, we don't want to be eating at our desk with our laptops or computer sitting there. Preferably, you want to get somewhere where there are no distractions. You want to be eating at a table. You want to be separating yourself from your work, whether that's going to the park or going to another area. With the state of the world right now, even at my job, they don't want us using break rooms, and so that would be a good place to go to get away from your computer, just focus on your meal. But they want us to eat at our desk. But a thing you could try is to turn off the notifications, turn down the sound on your computer. You might even want to turn it off, and you can turn it back on, reboot it, because the law has baked in for you to have time to eat, for you to have time to break during your 8-hour, 10-hour, whatever hour day. So a lot of times these unspoken pressures are on us to not take the time that the law has granted us to eat. So it's time to reclaim our time, to reclaim our power, and do what we need to do for our bodies. And I know this because I know a lot of us are high achieving and we just want to work, 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 work. And we feel like if we step away, then something is going to happen, and usually nothing's going to happen. That email is going to be sitting there, that voicemail is going to be sitting there when you get back, and there is no consequence for you taking your lunch and getting back to that later. So that's just a little bit tangent, but the first step is to choose your eating zone. Choose where you're going to eat. And then the second step in being mindful and intentional with getting in the zone for eating is to eat in a state of equanimity. And equanimity is a big fancy word that basically means nothing is affecting you. You have left the stress and worry of whatever email popped up, to that 45 minutes after your food, or you left the worries outside of your eating place because you can get back to them. They will be there. But for this 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 45 minutes that you are going to focus on eating your meal because you want to enjoy that food that you cooked or prepared or bought somewhere, you want to leave all that drama, all that mess for when you have to get back to it. So just taking all the stress and worry out of your eating process. And then 3 is when eating food, make that your sole focus. So basically that means take away the distractions. And these 5 steps are just continual iterations building on each other to get you to a mindful and intentional place when we're eating, so that we know what we're eating and our body can slowly digest the food. Our mind can have time to trigger the stomach to say, I'm full. And when we have all the distractions, it's hard for all those processes to work effectively. So basically making food your sole focus of that 15-30 minutes that you have to eat. And then number 4 is you can say to yourself, I release the need to night feed after dinner. Now this is a big one. So the 4th step into getting into the eating zone is telling yourself you do not have to night feed. You are, not a newborn baby. You don't need that bottle of quote unquote milk before you go to bed. But that's not to say you can't have something sweet after dinner. Whatever that is, maybe fruit, maybe a little dark chocolate. You can have that after dinner, but you want to be intentional. You want to be proactive and plan to do that very close to after you're done eating dinner, not an hour or 2 hours later as you're getting closer to your bedtime, because when you do that, then you're messing up or you're interfering with your circadian rhythm and your normal process for getting into that restful sleep. So just release the need for doing that. And the other point in doing that goes back to the H.A.L.T method, because usually when we wait an hour or 2 hours after dinner to get a little something else, it's usually emotion based. So when that happens, let's start to do that pattern interrupt with the H.A.L.T method that we just learned. When it's 9 o'clock and you're feeling like, oh, I just need a little something, let's go through that H.A.L.T method. Are you really hungry? Assess your emotions. What's the love substitute that you are trying to get? And then are you just thirsty? Drink some water. You're probably tired. Go to bed. And so the 5th step in getting into the eating zone is to eat slowly and savor the flavor. Again, food is to be fuel to our body. We are to enjoy it, and so we might as well take the time to enjoy it. And a lot of times when we don't get into the eating zone like this, we are doing that mindless zombie eating, and we can't even taste the food. We're eating too fast, so our stomach is struggling to digest it, and we're getting bloated and we're getting tight because we're shoveling in more food than we actually need, because we didn't even taste it. So it's like, oh, 10 minutes went by. I know I ate something, but what did it taste like? Let me get some more. So this process takes practice. So not to say, you're going to implement it overnight. It takes practice. But as you recall, it took time and it took habits building over time to get you where you are today, wanting to change your health, wanting to better your health, wanting to go on your own health journey. So it's important that you be patient with yourself. So tell me, are you being patient with yourself? And are you practicing the habits? We have to practice because these are things that we have to learn. We have to unlearn the habits that got us to where we are, and we have to learn the habits that will get us to a better state of health. So those are the 5 steps. And so as I wrap up this evening, I wanted to share something that I found that I think would help you. And it all goes to being mindful, being in the mindset so that we can release the weight, release the stress, release the fat, release the anxiety, get our numbers, our metabolic numbers back to where they're supposed to be. And a lot of the struggle comes with the fact that we are making our food choices represent us in some way. And so I want you to say this to yourself. Think about this, meditate on this. So I choose to act as a compassionate, because we have to be more compassionate with ourselves. If you truly ask yourself, are you compassionate to yourself as yourself needs you to be? But I choose to act as a compassionate observer of my thoughts, my feelings, and my choices instead of letting myself be defined by them. So we want to get away from, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, the choices we're making defining us, because it's just a moment in time. We're moving through states. We don't have to take on these attributes. These are just stories that are playing themselves out in our lives, but they are not our identity. They don't have to be our identity, and it's up to us to break those stories, to break those patterns with the H.A.L.T method and with this 5-step method for the eating zones, so that we're not identifying with the negative connotations that we've put on ourselves as it pertains to food. So it's all just information. Those feelings, those decisions, those choices, it's all just information to make more giving and loving choices for yourself in the future. So can you do that? And lastly, just continuing encouragement, because we have to be patient. Things take time, but small changes over time lead to big results. So small changes consistently applied create huge change. So just think of, an avalanche. An avalanche starts with the layering on of tiny snowflakes. So, these habits are small, these habits are simple, but as we consistently practice them and build them in over and over and over again, they come up to big results. So the best thing to do is continue to practice those habits. If you're off one day, start again the next day, start again the next day, start again the next day, until it becomes something you don't even have to think about repeating. Okay, so those were the 5 steps to get into the eating zone. So pick your zone, pick your place, preferably not in front of the TV or on the couch or at your desk at work with all the stuff blinking. You got to modify that a little bit. And then eat in a state of equanimity. Leave all those worries and those stressors, on either ends of your meal. This meal time is for you. It's time for you to have some enjoyment of food in your day. And then along with that, make the meal your focus. Make the food your focus. We want to not have our smartphones and all these other things distracting us, because then we won't be able to enjoy our food. Our body will not be able to digest it the way it should. It was created to do that. And then 4 is to release the need to night feed. So eat your dinner, eat enough dinner so that you are satiated. Going to a healthier lifestyle does not mean deprivation. It does not mean starving yourself. It does not mean going hungry. But what it does mean is eating more real food than it does processed food, and eating abundantly, eating enough of it so that you are satiated. And then if you do choose to have something after your meal, have it right after your meal, and don't wait an hour to 2 hours. And if you find yourself doing that, then go back to the HALT method and figure out why you're doing that and what you can do instead. And then number 5 is to eat slowly and savor that food, because you can enjoy food. That is definitely okay. All right, so I don't know why my nose is itching. It must be this light on me. That is all for tonight. Have a good evening.